One of these cars was banned from NASCAR. Not for cheating, not for a rule violation, simply because it was too fast for the competition to handle. Another one had its passenger seat removed at the factory, not by the owner, by the engineers, before it left the assembly line. One was so powerful that insurance companies threatened to stop insuring it altogether. So the manufacturer lied about the horsepower number on the spec sheet. These aren't supercars. These aren't limited edition hypercars worth millions. These are muscle cars, built in America, sold to everyday people, designed to be the fastest thing on any street, any highway, any drag strip, at a price a working man could actually afford. And today, we're covering the 8 most legendary ones ever made, one by one, no skipping, no shortcuts. Buckle up, because this is going to move fast. Pontiac GTO. General Motors had a rule. No GM car, except the Corvette, could carry an engine larger than 330 cubic inches in a mid-size body. The board of directors made this rule because they were scared. Too much power in the wrong hands meant lawsuits, accidents, bad press. Then one engineer decided that rule didn't apply to him. His name was John DeLorean, chief engineer at Pontiac, and he was absolutely tired of watching Ford outsell them on performance. So DeLorean took a completely ordinary Pontiac Tempest, a basic, boring family sedan that nobody cared about, and he secretly dropped a 389 cubic inch V8 straight into it. He didn't ask for permission. He packaged it as an option add-on rather than a new model, which technically meant the board of directors had no authority to block it. He named it the GTO, after the Ferrari 250 GTO, and he priced it at $2,900. GM's executives tried to stop it anyway. Too late. It was already going to dealers. General Motors projected they'd sell maybe 5,000 units. They sold 32,450 in the very first year. Car and Driver magazine called it the most exciting American car since the original Thunderbird. Road and Track said it was a working man's Ferrari. And every single competitor in Detroit looked at those sales numbers and panicked. The muscle car era had officially begun, and it began with one engineer who simply refused to follow the rules. But if the GTO started the war, what Ford did next turned it into an all-out arms race. Ford Mustang. Ford launched the Mustang on April 17, 1964, at the World's Fair in New York, 2 weeks after the GTO hit showrooms. The timing was not a coincidence. Ford had been watching Pontiac, and they came prepared. The Mustang was different from everything else on the market. It wasn't a full-size car. It wasn't a family sedan. It was a long hood, short deck, sports-style coupe, and it looked like nothing Detroit had ever produced. Base price, $2,368. That's cheaper than the GTO, and Ford gave buyers an enormous menu of options and engine choices, including the Hypo K-Code 289 cubic inch V8, making 271 horsepower. The response was unlike anything the auto industry had ever seen. On the first day of sales, Ford dealers were so overwhelmed that people were physically fighting in showrooms over demo models. One dealer in Texas reportedly had to lock a Mustang to the roof of his building to stop people from driving it away without paying. Ford sold 22,000 Mustangs on the first day, over 400,000 in the first year. That number had never been achieved by any new car in history. The Mustang didn't just compete with the GTO, it created an entirely new category of car, the pony car, and forced every other manufacturer in America to respond immediately. Chevy's response was already in development, and it was coming fast. Dodge Charger 426 Hemi. While Ford and Chevy were busy fighting each other, Dodge walked in and dropped something that made everyone stop talking. The 426 Hemi engine. 426 cubic inches. Hemispherical combustion chambers, that's what the Hemi means. A dome-shaped chamber that burns fuel more completely and generates significantly more pressure per stroke than a conventional engine. Dodge officially rated it at 425 horsepower. That was also a lie. The real number was closer to 470, and everyone in racing knew it.
Dodge dropped this engine into the Charger, a wide, fastback muscle car with hidden headlights, a full-width rear taillight, and a body so aggressive it looked angry sitting still. On the street, it was terrifying. 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds in 1968 with zero driver assistance technology of any kind. On the NASCAR superspeedways, it was completely untouchable. Richard Petty drove a Hemi Charger to 27 wins in the 1967 season alone. The car was so dominant that NASCAR officials eventually changed the rules specifically to limit it.
Then, in 1970, they went further and effectively banned the 426 Hemi engine from NASCAR competition altogether. They banned a production streetcar engine from professional racing because it was winning too easily. The Dodge Charger 426 Hemi is the only muscle car in history that was literally too fast for motorsport. Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Chevy had already launched the Camaro to compete with the Mustang. It was good. It was fast. It was selling well. But a small group of Chevy engineers wanted to do something that had never been done before. They took a 427 cubic inch V8, the same engine block used in Can-Am prototype racing cars, and built it entirely out of aluminum. Block, heads, everything. The result was an engine that weighed 100 pounds less than a comparable iron block V8. In a car that already handled well, removing 100 pounds from the front end completely transformed it. Chevy listed the output at 430 horsepower. Everyone, including the engineers, knew that was fiction. Independent testing put the real figure at 550 to 560 horsepower. They deliberately underrated it because insurance companies were already threatening to refuse coverage on high horsepower vehicles, and Chevy didn't want the controversy. So they printed a lie on the spec sheet. Quietly, on purpose. The ZL1 option package cost $4,160 on top of the base Camaro price. In 1969, that was more expensive than buying an entire standard Camaro. Most dealers refused to order it because they thought no one would pay that much. Only 69 were ever built. Today, a verified ZL1 in good condition sells at auction for between $300,000 and $400,000. 69 cars, built in secret, underrated on paper, and one of the rarest production cars in American automotive history. Ford Mustang Fox Body 5.0. October 1973. OPEC cuts oil exports to the United States. Gas prices quadruple in weeks. Muscle cars, which were burning fuel at 10 to 12 miles per gallon, suddenly looked completely irresponsible, embarrassing, dangerous. Then the government stepped in with the Clean Air Act, forcing manufacturers to detune engines to meet new emission standards. By 1975, the Corvette was producing 165 horsepower. The Mustang II, Ford's response to the crisis, came with a 4-cylinder engine making 88 horsepower. From 560 horsepower to 88 in less than a decade. The golden era was finished. Muscle cars were dead. Or so everyone assumed. Ford launched a new platform called the Fox Body. Lighter, stiffer, more modern architecture than anything they'd built in years. And in 1982, the 5.0-liter V8 returned to the Mustang lineup. Only 157 horsepower at launch, unimpressive on paper, but here is what made the Fox Body 5.0 one of the most important cars in American history. It was light, it was inexpensive, and it was extraordinarily easy to modify. You could purchase a Fox Body Mustang for under $9,000. A camshaft swap, performance headers, and a cold air intake, work you could do yourself in a garage over a single weekend, and you were making 350 to 400 horsepower. The aftermarket parts industry exploded around this car. Thousands of companies started producing performance components specifically for the 5.0. It became the foundation of American street performance culture through the entire 1980s and into the 1990s. The Fox Body didn't just save the Mustang, it rebuilt the entire muscle car culture from the ground up and set the stage for what was coming next. Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. Dodge walked into a press conference and said something that nobody believed at first. 707 horsepower, supercharged, factory stock, available at any Dodge dealership nationwide.
Not a concept car, not a limited production special edition, a car you could walk in and buy on a Tuesday afternoon. The supercharged 6.2-liter Hemi V8 produced more power than a Lamborghini Gallardo, more than a Ferrari California, and it came in a car with a full back seat and a trunk large enough for a family vacation. Dodge even gave it 2 separate key fobs, a black one that limited power output to 500 horsepower for valet parking, and a red one that unlocked the full 707. They built a valet mode for a 707 horsepower car. The Challenger Hellcat ran 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, quarter mile in 11.2 seconds, top speed of 199 miles per hour. The Charger Hellcat, a 4-door family sedan, ran the same numbers. You could take your kids to school in the morning and humiliate sports cars on the highway that afternoon. It was the most powerful production muscle car ever built at the time of its release, and Dodge had already decided they were going to beat it.
Dodge Challenger SRT Demon, 840 horsepower. That is the number Dodge put on a street-legal production car in 2018, and they didn't stop there. From the factory, before the first owner ever touched it, Dodge had already removed the passenger seat, the rear seats, and the glove box, stripped out to save every possible pound of weight. One seat, no storage, drag radials as standard equipment, a line lock function built into the stability control system to help with burnouts, a dedicated drag mode that pre-chills the intake air using the air conditioning system to increase air density and extract maximum power. 0 to 60, 2.3 seconds. That made it, at the time of release, the fastest accelerating production car ever built, faster than a McLaren P1, faster than a Bugatti Chiron to 60 miles per hour. Quarter mile, 9.65 seconds, the first production car in history to run the quarter mile in the 9s straight from the dealership. At the drag strip under hard launch, the front wheels lifted completely off the ground. Documented, measured, verified. The first street-legal production car in history to do a wheelie. The NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, reviewed it and banned it from competing in stock drag racing classes because it was too fast for the category it would have entered. A street car banned from drag racing for being too quick. Dodge included a warning label in the owner's manual, an actual printed caution label about the vehicle's performance capabilities. The Demon was the most extreme production muscle car ever built, and it was also the last chapter of an era, because what came next changed everything. Dodge Charger Daytona. In 2023, Dodge held what they called the last call, a final production run of special edition Hellcats and Challengers with gas engines. People lined up outside dealerships. Owners gathered at events to say goodbye. Some held actual memorial ceremonies for the end of the V8 Charger and Challenger. Then, Dodge revealed what was replacing them. Electric. The reaction was immediate and not positive. Enthusiasts called it a betrayal. Forums flooded with outrage. The idea of a silent electric muscle car felt like a contradiction in terms. But Dodge had anticipated that reaction, and they had an answer. They developed a technology called Fretsonic Chambered Exhaust, a precisely engineered acoustic chamber that generates and amplifies exhaust sound from the electric drivetrain. The result hits 126 decibels. That is louder than the Hellcat at wide-open throttle, louder than most race cars. It is not fake speaker noise pumped through the stereo. It is a physical sound chamber built into the car, producing real structural sound from the powertrain. Performance numbers for the top Daytona SRT Banshee concept? Over 800 horsepower. Instant torque delivery from 0 RPM, which means the 0 to 60 time is faster than the Demon, faster than anything Dodge has ever built with a gas engine. So is the electric Charger Daytona a betrayal of the muscle car? Here is the honest answer. Muscle cars were never actually about the engine. They were never about cubic inches or superchargers or exhaust notes as ends in themselves. They were about the feeling, the aggression, the chest-thumping, tire-shredding, straight-line violence that any working-class person could walk into a dealership and buy. If the Charger Daytona delivers that feeling, and the specifications say it delivers it harder than anything before it, then muscle cars are not dying. They are evolving. Again, just like they always have. 8 cars, 6 decades, one idea that has refused to die no matter what the world has thrown at it. Oil crises, government emissions laws, import invasions, the electric revolution. And the muscle car is still here.